Players, and more players. That's what compromises. Compromises. That's what comprises the D&D phenomenon. Phenomenal is what it is. As the audience for this, the granddaddy of all role-playing games continues to expand. D&D players happily come in all shapes and sizes, and even a fair number of women are counted among those who regularly play the game. Oh, hang on. He just said even women, which means oh god. Widespread appeal cuts across many boundaries of interest and backgrounds means the D&D players are marked by a wide range of diversity. In fact, one could easily use the analogy that there are as many types of D&D players as there are D&D monsters. After that, draw your own conclusions. There are unquestionably fast players, slow players, clever players, foolish players, cautious players, reckless players, generous players, greedy players, friendly players, and obnoxious players. As diverse as this melange of enthusiasts is, they all seem to share one commonality, a real love for Dungeons and Dragons. By the way, is that centered properly on my screen? It is not. Um, dun, 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 dun. It's a devotion that few other games can claim. This remarkable loyalty is a great factor in the game's explosion of popularity, and Dungeons and Dragons has become a gaming cult as avid D&Ders. That probably didn't help them, the use of the word cult during the Satanic Panic, as avid D&Ders have ceaselessly spread the gospel. Ah, that's awesome. Um, that's so cool. Cooperate with other players and respect their right to participate. Dun, 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 dun. But it says right here, D&D is all about diversity. D&D players happily come in all shapes and sizes. But the thing is, somebody's going to look at that part where they say even women, and they're going to say that's problematic because they didn't consider women to be equal. That's just it was remarking on the fact that at the time only men played D&D, but as it became more popular, it's no different than gaming. When people started playing video games, it was mostly guys who were playing video games, and now there are not necessarily an equal amount, but a rising number, and we're getting close to an equal amount of female gamers. And some of the biggest streamers in the industry are female streamers. It's not sexist, it's just fact. Facts of life. Even women. Shazam! Yeah, TTRPG is for all comers. No one is or ever has been gatekeeping the hobby. I agree. Bubbleini says, I've said it before, but we had two girls, they were girls, at our table regularly as far back as 1980. Inclusion has been part of the mission statement from day one. Is the point, says Mark. Amen. Mark says Bubbleonia. I fully agree. So yeah, no one has ever been gatekeeping. Um, that's a great way to put it, Mark. No one is or has ever been gatekeeping the hobby. It's one of those things where people want to find things to be offended by, and I don't understand it. Wayne says, sadly, in today's world, everyone wants an excuse why they couldn't do something. It's crazy times we live in. I think nothing is crazier than yeah, I got you, Bubbleonia. We were kids, so I won't call them women. Crazy times we live in. I think that the I'm going to use air quotes here. The controversy around um, Hogwarts Legacy is an extension of this conversation because you have so many people who are claiming that it's this thing when it's not because they just want something to be offended by. Um, yeah, Mark. I mean, that's where I'm at too. This idea, which in my mind is partly Wizards of the Coast trying to placate the mob because they're like, oh yeah, we gotta. Sorry if we've been gatekeeping. We'll try to do better in the future. I don't think anyone has ever been a gatekeeper. I've played at a lot of tables over the years, and I've never seen gatekeeping. Usually, what it is, oh my God, you want to play Dungeons and Dragons? Fuck yeah. Come on, we meet every Saturday. It doesn't matter who they are, what color they are, whether they're male, woman. It doesn't matter. We didn't care if they were gay, straight, trans, black, white, red. Doesn't matter what language they speak. It's like, you want to play tabletop? You want to play Dungeons and Dragons with us? Fuck yeah, let's roll. Like I've always participated in games that had that attitude at the table. Not once have I ever seen this so-called, you know, attitude of we're gonna keep it very, you know, close behind walls. We're gonna gatekeep. We're not gonna let these people in. We're not gonna let, oh, you're black, you can't play. You're a woman, you can't play. Um, Bubbaloni has a good. He just said truth. It's just kind of like metal music. You like metal? Fuck yeah, it's totally true. Like, I've never seen the gatekeeping that some people claim is a thing, but I've also never seen, conversely, like the idea that someone's. This came out. Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? They had to redo one of the. Didn't they unpublish it? There was a source book or something that they published, and it had mention of this like monkey race in it, and people drew some sort of weird, like, they're talking about black people because they're calling them monkeys. And I was like, I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, I've never in my life, I had to go online and look up what people were talking about in terms of the monkey commentary. I had never heard about that. And some people were like, well, that's just because you were never exposed to it. And just because you didn't realize it was there doesn't mean it didn't exist. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Or are you sure that, maybe you're just putting an interpretation into something that you want to put? Because we could literally look at, it's like the people who get offended about calling um, elves and dwarves races. Like, it's racist to call them racist. And when they took out the pros and cons system, and now everyone just has pros, no one has negatives, no one has any cons. So it's like, used to be, if you were a halfling, you're smaller, so you naturally have a higher dexterity, but your constitution sucks, right? Because you're not a big, healthy dwarf or human. So, but no, that's bad, because you're saying that race is inferior to another, and therefore that's racism. And I'm like, that was never about racism. Who the fuck are you that's interpreting stats to equal racism? Like, the idea that that could even be interpreted as racism blows my mind, because it doesn't even enter into my consideration of tabletop gaming. I want to have a pro and con between the different types of races that a character can play, because it makes it more real. It's like, yeah, elves are skinny and fast and agile, right? But they suck at, like, they're not very strong, like a, you know, big ass half orc would be. Like, it totally makes sense that it would be like that. I don't know. Food for thought. Mark says, I never saw or scented anything like it either. Wayne says, role players, in my experience, are some of the most accepting group of people I've ever known. Only thing in role playing that offends me is the D4, because it bloody hurts when you step on it. Truth. That is so true. Oh man. Um. Oh, it's bad as that's as bad as Legos. That is as bad as Legos. Um. Oh wow. That's amazing. The D4 should be outlawed. Pain of death for manufacture and distribution, possibly for possession. That's brilliant. That is brilliant, everybody. So yeah, D&D and tabletop has always been about inclusion. So I don't know where, you know, eh, where people are assuming that it never has been. I've never seen the gatekeeping. So all right, folks, I need to wind down because it's about 9:15. I got to go get breakfast, everything. There is an additional there's a video coming out at 10 a.m. that's going to be on the Broken Weave Kickstarter, so check that out. If you're watching this, by the way, for those of you who are watching this after the fact, because I will be cutting this segment out and doing another video about this, don't forget that every Sunday we do these live streams at 8 a.m. Central here on my channel, so hopefully we'll see you next week. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all those good things, so you never miss an update or a live stream. Support if you can with memberships, super thanks, super chats, stickers, and beyond. You can get a copy of our tabletop guidebook and the first module over at our Patreon page. There's also a book series, a point and click adventure game. There's a Discord channel. All the links are down there. So, yeah. Until next time, everybody, I'm out. Bubbaloni says, leave my caltrips alone. D4s are definitely as worthy of being caltrips. A handful of D7s will roll ankles. Truth to that.